Today, I'm going to show you something that will completely change how you view your reaction. Two people can experience the exact same thing and yet have two different nervous system responses. And it's not because one is more emotional than the other. I started noticing this pattern in myself first. Situations that looked small on the surface, but my body was reacting as if something bigger was actually happening. And once I understood what was going on internally, everything started to make more sense. There's a quiet tension that a lot of high functioning, self aware people carry. We can look calm on the outside, but one small thing can shift our entire body. A message, a tone change, a delayed response, feedback. And suddenly your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, you start shaking a little bit, and before you know it, you're trying to solve something before you even know what the actual problem is. Okay, so I am going to break things down on a piece of paper for you, just so that you can have a visual reference. And I am going to be pulling from my nervous system guide. So if you want to follow along, I definitely recommend getting a copy of that guide. Because in the videos of this series, this playlist series, I'll be referencing the page numbers that you can go to get the full thing. Because in these videos, I'm just going to break it down simply. But if you want the whole 80 pages of all the insight that I've gained in my lifetime, you can go to my bio. Okay, so on page 8, and I hope you guys can see that, yeah. So I break down how the nervous system has an input, process, and then output. And so the nervous system gathers information from your environment using your senses, your nerves, kind of why it's called the nervous system, because it connects your nerves and your senses and your bodies to your brain. We should have learned this in middle school, so I'm not going to go into too much depth into what exactly the nervous system is, but it first gathers information from your senses. It then decides meaning to that information that it has just gathered. And then finally, it triggers a response, the output. So in my guide, I use a simple example of a caveman. And the caveman is picking berries. And he sees eyes peeking up from the grass. So the input would be he sees eyes, right? He sees eyes picking up from the grass. He processes it as a possible threat. And then the output would be the caveman runs. So he sees eyes peeking up from the grass while he's picking berries. His brain processes as, oh shoot, this could be a predator. It's a predator, let me run. And so that's what your nervous system does on a more simpler scale, just to break it down. And so the nervous system job is to keep you safe. Always remember that that is number one job. It is to keep you alive. And so all of this, from input, process to output, happens within a few seconds. So there isn't any time to consciously think and investigate and do this and do that. It happens quickly within a few seconds. That's why you see some people who react and they do it like instantaneously. They get upset, all of these things so fast when something happens, and it's because the nervous system took over. And so even though this is an example that I'm using of the caveman, this process still happens for modern day humans. Our nervous system doesn't distinct your boss at your job. It doesn't distinct a toxic relationship. It doesn't distinct, stress. Let's say your car broke down and that's just, it can't really differentiate. And it's designed to create a quick response in order to keep you safe. So it's not going to think about, oh, well, this, that, and that over there did that, and oh, but that last week did that. It's not thinking about any of that. It's trying to make the quickest decision it can to keep you safe. Always remember that your nervous system is on your side. Because a lot of people like to think, oh, that you have to control the nervous system, you have to regulate, you have to calm it down. Always remember that your nervous system is on your side. It is not against you, it is on your side. The part most people don't understand is that the processing step, that's where everything kind of happens. That's what's going to differentiate one person reacting by running and another person reacting by freezing and staying still. It's this section right here. That's why two different people can react differently. That's like even siblings, like sometimes when we go through things in our family and one sibling will have a completely different perspective on the same situation than another sibling, even though they had the same parents, the same family, the same household. They had two different outcomes. Because your brain is not just looking for what's happening, it's asking, what does it mean based on what I've experienced before? How things process is going to be based on two things. It's going to be based on genetics plus the past experiences. I'll write it down. So this process step, that's going to be determined by genetics and past experiences. Now, a lot of you might be like, what does genetics have to do with this? Genetics, go watch, I hope I'm saying her name right, but Ayanna Vanzant, she had a show. I don't think it's have any new episodes. I think it stopped, airing. But if you go watch that show, just go watch like a few episodes. And one thing you will notice is that when an input happened, whether that be a traumatic experience, a way of life, like whatever, the great-grandmama had the same output, processing output. The grandmama had the same processing output. The mama had the same processing output. And the baby had the same processing output. And the grandbaby had the same processing output. One thing her show really emphasized is genetics and environments, how your family processes things will determine how you process things by default. And you have to understand that the nervous system is millions and millions of years old. It's like 500 million years old. It has been placed in many different species because it works that well. And so it has been passed down by generation by generation by generation by generation through every species, pretty much. And so genetics do play a factor. And so it's important to kind of look at your family as well and see, how do everybody process stuff? Is it with anger? Is it with, avoidance? Whatever the case may be. Plus past experiences. So let's say, for example, people who get into car wrecks, sometimes when they get back in the car after having been in the crash, they get like a phobia, or they get scared and they don't want to, or they freeze up, or they get back into that past experience. So it can be, a good thing also. It doesn't have to be something that's trauma related. It can be something positive. It doesn't always have to be negative. Usually when people are talking about nervous system, they're talking about trauma and negative stuff, but it can be processed as well by good experiences. And so when we are looking at this process point, we have to ask ourselves, what have we experienced in the past? And what has our family, our mom, our dad, grandmama, granddaddy, all them people, what did they experience that might have also carried over genetically and environmentally? When you're with your family, you're raised in that environment. So what's carrying over? And then what are your own personal past experiences? And so back to the caveman example. Because I realized it's one more thing that I wanted to add. Right, so the caveman seeing the eyes peeking from the grass, he processes it as a possible threat and then runs. But what if it wasn't actually a predator in the grass? What if it was a bunny? And so just keep that in mind. And so genetically, past experience-wise, in order to stay alive, the nervous system thinks, oh, this is a threat. Because it could be a predator, it could not be a predator, but we're not going to take that risk and we're just going to run. And so sometimes there are moments in our lives where we're thinking it's a predator and we're running, but really it's a bunny. And we're exerting unnecessary energy with running and getting our adrenaline up. And so you're probably like, okay, but what are some actual examples of what's the next thing? Because we can know, okay, our nervous system inputs, process, and outputs. But what are we going to do about this? So I'm going to go deeper in the next videos. But for this one, the next point is spotting old data. So you want to take this input, processing, and output and use it to notice and become self-aware of your own triggers. And so one thing I really want you to get into the mindset of is that triggers are not bad. Let me write that down for you. Triggers equal good. And you're probably like, what? How could triggers be good? I hope you guys can see it. Yeah, you can. How are triggers good? Because you go and watch every nervous system video and they say, oh, calm the triggers, stop being triggered, detach, be unbothered. But your triggers are your greatest assets. Always remember that. Your triggers are your greatest assets. They are what will protect you, and they are also what will help you get to the next level. Your triggers are not bad. They are giving you good information. And so let's use some of the examples from my guides. And these will be on page 12 through 17. And so example 1 is getting a Slack message from your manager. No, I forgot to put from. Oh, well, you know what I mean. Slack message from manager. So I want you to imagine receiving a message from your manager that says, "Can you hop on a quick call?" These words are neutral, but your nervous system can interpret these very differently. So, a calm nervous system, we're just going to put C as abbreviated. A calm nervous system. The input is the neutral message appears on the screen. Can you hop in the call? Right? So the input would be just the neutral message of can you hop in the call. The process would be interpreting it and your brain asking what's most likely is the explanation. Maybe they have an update for you, right? So the calm version, I is seeing the message, interpret, I hope I'm spelling that right, interpret and neutral, and then your output would be just saying, sure, what time works best, right? So you see the message, like, okay, process it as neutral, and then you just respond, sure, sure, what times works best. You're not really thinking too much about it. But let's say we're doing an aroused nervous system. The input would be seeing the message, processing it as so you interpret, I missed the P. You guys know what I mean. As a threat. Right? So it's gonna go, your mind's gonna go straight to, oh, am I in trouble? Did I miss something? Like, did I forget to send this thing before the deadline? Like, oh my God, what could this be about? Oh my God, I hope I'm not in trouble. Right? So you immediately go into stress mode. And your memory starts to pull past stressful experiences, right? Of other times where you've gotten a message and it wasn't good. And so it's pulling from there that, oh, every time I get a message like this, it always means something bad. It means like, oh, I missed something, I didn't do something, I'm in trouble. Just something bad's gonna happen, aka a threat. Because even though we may not see I'm in trouble or I missed this or I missed that as a threat, it is. Because you have to remember, socially, back in caveman days, we needed to be accepted within our society in order to stay alive, to be accepted within our tribe in order to have food and have shelter and have support. So if you did something that made the tribe upset, that could risk you being abandoned. So even though being in trouble or not meeting a deadline may not register as threat immediately to your mind, to your conscious mind, it absolutely is to your subconscious mind. And I get further into that in my nervous system guide. And so the output is anxiety, fawning. And in my guide, I go into detail on fawning, freeze, fight, flight. But just in a more simpler sense for the video, fawning is when you try to people please in a sense in order to survive. Right? So a lot of people think, oh, people pleasing is trying to get something out of others. No, it's actually a nervous system response, just like fight, flight, and freeze are. So this could look like over-explaining, over apologizing, jaw tightening, the chest tightening, your stomach might drop. Some people they have stomach issues when they start to get anxiety or get aroused. Okay, I think I can turn it over now. Okay, so sample two. Is this the screen? Yeah. Sample two. Okay, so imagine you're driving to work and your mind is already running through like all the stuff you got to do once you get to work, and then a car swerves into your lane without warning, cutting you off. Calm nervous system. So let's do I first. So I input is just another driver cut you off. Right, so that's the input. P, the process is for calm. You'll register it as like an annoyance, but you won't take it personally. So you'll be a little bit annoyed, but it's not that serious. Annoyed, but not personal, right? So you're staying cool, you're staying calm, a little bit annoyed, but outside of that, you're still good. Output would be breathe, patient, then release. So, right? So, your attention, you might be upset for all of 5 seconds, then, you don't remember it anymore and just go about your day. Now, an aroused nervous system, the input is going to be the same. Another driver cuts you off. P is going to be, this is going to be perceived as a personal threat. So what this will look like is, right, for aroused, another driver cuts you off. You take it as a personal offense, like they're out to get you. And then the output would be yelling, honking, and express. I'm gonna put that at the bottom because it's long. Honking and aggressive driving, and your day is ruined. I hope I spelled that right. So with the rouse, input will be another driver cutting you off. Processing, you'll perceive that as a personal threat. Output is yelling, honking, aggressive driving, and just feeling like your day is completely ruined. Like your whole day gets thrown off and ruined just because somebody cut you off in traffic. So these are the people who you see following them, throwing stuff at their cars, tailgating. It's these people. So if you're doing that, if this applies, if you get upset when people cut you off, you're here. You're here. And if you're here, you need to go to my bio and go get the nervous system guide. Because you don't be doing this. Because you're going to end up running up on the wrong person one day. Don't do this. Don't do this. So this is how you spot the three processes. And it's really simple for you to break down and start applying to your own life of, okay, what was the input? What was the process? What was the output? And just being self-aware, because sometimes we think one thing is the problem, but it's really not. And our mind can start to tell us stories and add in extra details that are irrelevant to the situation. So it'll start to become, why does this always happen to me? Why this? Why that? Why does this always keep happening to me? Why do people keep doing this to me? That's when you're taking in, your brain is kind of taking in extra stories and adding them into the mix. And so this is just a quick and easy way of understanding what's going on in your body. On pages 25 through 30, I go through the different signs in the body. So let's do this. So I go through the different signs in the body. So if you want a whole list, go to these 5 pages and look through it. And see which ones apply to you. But more or less, just a few to throw out there. For me, a clenched jaw, reduced blinking, a feeling of urgency, like you have to fix it right now, you have to solve the problem right now, over explaining, and difficulty resting even when you're exhausted and shaking. Sometimes, we can get to shaking because the adrenaline is kicking in and flowing through. More specifically for high functioning people, aka who this channel is for, you will see hyperproductivity, over responsibility. You will see problem solving instead of feeling. We know the infamous "I'm fine," "Oh, I'm good," when you're really, and mistaking urgency for importance. So those are just a few quick signs. But if you want a full breakdown of everything, parasympathetic, sympathetic, these pages have it. So my next point, this is why it feels so real. And this is the part that isn't talked about enough. It doesn't feel like this pattern. It feels real. It doesn't feel like some broken down step by process. It feels like our everyday, because it is our everyday. And your body and your nervous system can't always differentiate what's happening now to what has happened in the past. And so, like I said previously, that's why you'll hear people saying, why does this always keep happening to me? It's because your nervous system is going through the same loop over and over and over again. And it's very important to note that your nervous system cannot distinguish a psychological threat versus a safety threat. It responds the exact same to both, from whether a lion is chasing after you or if somebody hurt your feelings. They both are a threat. It doesn't matter if one can physically kill you. It doesn't matter. It will feel real, and even with the signs in your body, the more somatic thing, it isn't like something that's this thing that's outside of you. This is gonna be how you feel when you go to the grocery store. It's gonna be how you feel when you go to work and talk to your managers. It's gonna be how you feel when you have to go in and talk to your family. It's gonna be how you feel when you're driving through traffic. It's not something that's this thing that's off into the distance. It's right here, right now, or with you and so it's very important to learn how to use it in your advantage instead of it just taking you along for the ride. And so this goes into my next point of discernment. Discernment is a skill. The goal is not to become less reactive. So we want to become accurate, not less reactive. So a lot of the nervous system, stuff that you see online, it will tell you to become less reactive, how to become less reactive, how to become unbothered, how to detach, how to do this, how to do that. What you don't want to do is inadvertently ignore your nervous system because you're trying to be less reactive. You want to be is accurate. You want to know, what am I reacting to what's going on here. What's the I, the P, and the O? And getting that data, like I mentioned back in, what was it, like point 2 or point 3? You want it to be accurate. You don't want it to be less reactive. Again, your nervous system is your ally. It is your ally. It's sending you messages for a reason in order to keep you alive. It's not this old silly thing that needs to be turned. You need to listen to it. This is where people be like, oh, my intuition, oh, my gut told me this, oh, that. It's coming from the nervous system. When people be talking about, oh yeah, I seen that way ahead. I knew that way ahead time. It's because they were listening to their nervous system instead of trying to make it less reactive, right? Because, for example, people who don't get hungry during the day anymore, they have been going through so much stress and consciously ignoring their hunger cues that they no longer even feel hungry. Their body stops sending them the signals because their own body doesn't trust them to listen anymore. And what you don't want to do is get to that point of where this turns into lack of self-trust. What we want to do is listen to exactly what's going on and put it through a filter. See, okay, what's happening? How am I responding? How am I thinking about it? What's my beliefs? And is this benefiting me or not by having this loop? Or do I need to change it? All right? Because with this one, we don't want to be yelling and honking and doing aggressive stuff because you might meet the wrong one and the right one at the same time. So right, this isn't a good thing to be doing. So it isn't about becoming less reactive, right? We see this, so you're gonna react. If somebody cuts you off, you're gonna react. You're not gonna be some magic guru sitting on a mountain who's not gonna get upset. But it's about creating a loop that is more accurate and that works in your benefit more. This one is gonna keep you alive. This one is gonna get you, you're gonna meet the wrong one and the right one at the same time. And you gonna be in the hospital or dead. And this one is gonna have you living another day. It's about, going through and having discernment. Because a lot of times you're not overreacting. A lot of times that person meant exactly what they did, exactly what they did. They meant exactly what they meant. The situation is exactly it's exactly how you're perceiving it sometimes. So okay? So sometimes the goal is not to become less reactive. It's about becoming more accurate, having discernment, and being able to use this loop in order to get you better results in your life. This is why calming yourself down doesn't fix the issue. It's because if the interpretation doesn't change, the pattern doesn't change. So if you want to go deeper into this, I have the nervous system guide that walks you through all of this stuff and more. So you can actually start to recognize your own patterns in real time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different from the other formats that I've done, but I like doing this. I really like this format. So I think I'm gonna include it like this because I feel like it helps me too to have everything in my brain and kind of just write it out and speak it through. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys in the next